So the first thing I see when I walk into Mart is their rice paper, which I always have at least one package of at home in case I want to make rice paper rolls. If you don't know what rice paper rolls are, don't worry because I dedicated an entire video on how to make them, and I'll link you to that video right now. Shahan and I have these at least once a month, and they're delicious, surprisingly filling, full of noodles, and pair nicely with the peanut sauce I taught you how to make in the last video.
This is so good.
What more could anyone want?
I'm so happy.
I do already have these at home though, so I won't be buying them today. Close by are the vermicelli noodles that I use in my rice paper rolls, but when I'm feeling lazy I can also just cook these and have them with sauteed shrimp or fried tofu and some greens, topped with either peanut sauce or fish sauce. They're really easy to make a delicious meal with and definitely worth getting the big boy package. So Jess was actually the one who introduced me to these soba noodles, and they're so perfectly bouncy and chewy and can be prepared in so many different ways. In my last video I made them with peanut sauce, but I've also made them with a dipping sauce, which is how they're traditionally prepared, and I've also made them in a soup. I know you can't see them in the soup, but they're there, and they're delicious. They're also insanely cheap for how many meals they can provide, so yeah, these will forever be a pantry staple for me as well. Moving on to another noodle that I also always have. These are sweet potato starch noodles, also known as glass noodles because they're clear when you cook them, also known as japchae noodles because that's pretty much all I use these to make. For those of you who don't know, japchae is a Korean noodle stir fry, and if you've never had it, I'm so sorry for you. If you watched my What I Eat in a Week video, then you'll definitely recognize these noodles, and I'll say it again, these are the best pre-packaged noodles I've ever had in my entire life. They're not fried and not made of a lot of ingredients, which is supposed to make them healthier, but honestly, I really don't care if that's true or not, because the texture of these plus the chili sauce is so amazing that my pantry will never not have these for as long as they exist. And I really hope they exist forever, or at least for as long as I'm alive. They have a mandarin noodle flavor and a tainan noodle flavor, which is actually the first flavor I ever tried because they sell these in bulk at Costco, and they're good, but by no means do they hold a candle to the Hakka noodles. If you try any noodle from this brand, try the Hakka noodles with the chili sauce. You won't regret it. Alright, so let's talk about rice. I actually have 4 different types of rice at home, but if you haven't grown up eating rice your whole life like I have, then there are 2 main types that you really need to know about. Short grain rice is the sticky rice that you'll usually get at a Korean or Japanese restaurant. It's the rice that sushi is made with and is used for sticky rice desserts like mango sticky rice. This rice can be labeled sushi rice or Calrose rice, but honestly it's all the same. Just remember that short grain equals sticky. The main long grain rice that I get is jasmine rice. This rice can be a little sticky or the grains can be more separated, and it really just depends on how much water you use to cook the rice. This type of rice is good for fried rice, for eating with soupy foods, or if you're just more into that fluffy rice texture instead of the sticky rice texture. And if you're a bit intimidated and don't want to dive in and get the 30 to 50 pound bags yet, don't worry because there are baby sizes available as well. At least to me, they're baby sizes. Alright, so in my freezer I always have at least 1 bag of dumplings or pot stickers, whatever you want to call them. They're just super convenient and delicious for when I don't feel like going all out on making a meal. And just a pro tip, I recently discovered that there are bags that also include their own sauce. I mean, it's a hit or miss if the sauce is actually good or not, but it's still pretty cool that they do that at all. I also always have some furikake in my pantry, which is basically a rice seasoning made of seaweed, sesame seeds, and other delicious things that I'm not exactly aware of, but that's okay. There are different types of furikake, and I bet I'd like them all, but I usually don't get the fishy ones because Shahan isn't really a fan of fishy things. Still, I've had many morning meals consisting solely of a fried egg and furikake on rice, and every time it's freaking delicious. Another pantry staple that I actually added to the list pretty recently is this Japanese curry mix that I swear I grew up having in my parents' house, but that I totally forgot about until Jacinda reminded me a couple months ago. We all remember Jacinda, right? You're like skipping all the feet. Anyway, this stuff is bomb, and medium hot isn't hot at all, even for me and my low spicy tolerance. I don't have to tell you to get soy sauce, right? Yeah, I don't have to tell you to get soy sauce. Okay, so we all know about sriracha too, but do y'all know about the chili paste made by the same company? Because it's bomb too. This and oyster sauce is all you need to make a really good stir-fry sauce. And in case you don't know what oyster sauce is, shame on you. Just kidding, but it looks like this, and I use it for plenty of udon, veggie, tofu, and whatever else you can put in a stir-fry. Alright, so black soy sauce isn't really a super necessity. This is more for people who already have the other sauces I mentioned and want to advance to that next level. Black soy sauce is very different from regular soy sauce and has its own distinct flavor that is kind of sweet. It's also more viscous, which I attempt to show here, but honestly you can't really tell, so you'll just have to trust me. But basically, black soy sauce is good for its distinct flavor and also just giving a darker color to noodles or whatever else you're using it to flavor. I used to get this goma sauce, aka sesame sauce, all the time for dipping rice paper rolls into and whatnot, and it's really good, but ever since I learned how to make the peanut sauce that I taught you how to make in the last video, I've never gone back. So most of my cooking is done with canola oil, but for some stir frying and for my fried rice, I like to use sesame oil, which adds a whole nother layer of flavor. I also use sesame oil to make japchae because you just have to. It's like a law or something. Sesame seeds are also not a necessity, but they're a super easy way to make a meal look and taste better with no effort at all. Like, look at this bowl of kale, tofu, and brown rice. On its own, it sounds like a really bland meal, but then add peanut sauce and toasted sesame seeds and wha-bam! So much better. Same for this mango sticky rice that just looks like a scoop of, well, you know what it looks like. Add some sesame seeds and mint and kaboom! Bomb.com, baby. Alright, so finally something that I actually need to buy, shiitake mushrooms. Great for stir fry, great for soups, great for a lot of things. I do have to say that dry shiitake mushrooms tend to have a lot more flavor than the fresh ones, but they do take 30 minutes to soak and prepare before cooking, so that's also something to keep in mind. I personally think it's worth the prep time, but you can make that call yourself. And because I don't have enough noodles in my cart yet, time to get more udon. I used to get this brand that has a really good soup packet that's included, but the noodles themselves are just okay. They get the job done and they taste right, but the texture can get mushy really easily when you use them in stir fries, so you can only really use these in soups. For my What I Eat in a Week video, I randomly tried this other brand that's a little more expensive, but the noodles just look more firm and not squished together. And as a bonus, they include this tempura-like topping, but the soup base isn't that great. You just can't win them all. So now for veggies, I always have at least one type of mushroom, but usually I'll have shiitake, baby bellas, and king oyster if I can. Always have eggplant, broccoli and green onion, sometimes bell pepper, but not always, carrots, avocados if they're not crazy expensive, garlic, yellow onion, and I always get yellow onion over white onion because that's what I grew up having, and it's just a bonus that it's usually cheaper. I also always have white or gold potatoes at home for when I want to make curry or roasted potato wedges, and one red onion for when I want to make guacamole or fajitas. I also always have tofu at home, and extra firm is the easiest to fry up and make crispy, so I prefer that, but firm works well too. And if you saw my van anniversary video, this is the Soon tofu soup kit that we got to make dinner that one day. We actually got the medium hot for that trip, and medium hot is good for people who like mild spiciness, but we also tried hot, and hot actually has a kick to it. We also usually have a jar of kimchi at home, whether we buy it from here or Shahan's grandma makes it for us. And when I'm in the mood, I love getting raw sashimi grade salmon from here because it's so good. Then I just make some sticky rice and we have it with green onion, and it's so bomb. These are the rice crackers that I had in my last video, and for my one snack allowance for the day, I tried looking for haichus for Shahan, but they were all out of the tropical pack, which is the best one. For fruit, we always have bananas, which I forgot to record, and Honeycrisp apples, which are always gigantic from here. We also always have blueberries. And that's pretty much everything that I get from H Mart. One of the two things I exclusively get from Whole Foods are these Vital Farms eggs, because they sell 18 for $7, which is a good price, but also their chickens are treated really well, and you can tell by the really good quality of the eggs. The other thing that I exclusively get from Whole Foods is the field roast sausages that I talked about in my last video. They're all plant-based, and they have Frankfurter, Italian, and apple sage flavors, and they're all so good, but I already have all three in my freezer, so we don't have to get any today. I also get produce from here sometimes when I don't feel like driving out to H Mart, but since I just came from there, the only thing I need to get today is kale. And then this is when a random man approached me and asked me why I was taking pictures of kale. At first I thought I was in trouble or something, but then he asked me what my name was and got all smiley asking me about my YouTube channel. Thanks, Brian. Thanks. Alright, so my trip to Costco actually happened a week later, but I thought I'd do a speed round and include all the things I get from here too. Marinara sauce, diced tomatoes, black beans, garlic salt, pancake mix, whole wheat bread. Then we also always have quinoa, chia seeds, and hemp hearts, which are the only things we actually need to buy right now. Snack allowance for the day. We also get our soy milk from here, which comes in a 12-pack, so it lasts forever. Frozen shrimp, avocados, liquid IV, which is always nice to just have. Coach's oats, firm tofu, uncooked tortillas, which are the only tortillas I'll ever get ever again, mushrooms, and power greens for Shahan.